Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Eugen. In this one I have for you a preview of the 4th Fallschirmjager, a new division available in the upcoming Tribute to Italy DLC. As a disclaimer, Eugen has given me free access to the DLC, so big thanks to them. Also, please remember that this is an early preview and what you see may be subject to change. If you'd like to read the description on the right hand side, feel free to pause the video as usual, but I'm going to be jumping straight on in. So we're going to be looking at all of the units, of course, and then I'm going to be putting together a quick deck. So let's get into it, starting in the Recon tab. First unit, Fallschirmjager. These guys are your standard 2-man Recon squads with the exceptional stealth, very high optics, 4, 8 and 12 availability. Transports, not very exciting. Battlegroup being the only Recon transport you can bring them with. And there's the Fallschirmjager. We've seen these guys before. 2 MP40s, 2 FG42s. Availability is 3, 6 and 9. Forced to come in at 1 vet. And their transports, again, not terribly exciting. I do love a good Kettengrad though. I mean, just look at it. Fantastic little thing. But yeah, standard 4-man Recon squad for the Fallschirmjagers. Then we have this weird looking thing, the AS-42 20mm. It's a Recon vehicle with a 20mm mounted on it, which is actually kind of scary. I mean, this thing could actually do a serious amount of damage to half-tracks in the early game, because it does have AP shells on the Breda. Like, the Breda AA piece does have those 20mm AP rounds. So, yeah, going to be able to get through lightly armoured targets quite nicely. It does come with Recon capability of very high optics, and also has a radio. So, a very versatile Recon vehicle. The availability of these is quite low, 2 in A and 4 in B. But they're only 25 points each, so yeah, an interesting choice for sure. Then there's the Fallschirmjager. These guys are a 3-man squad with a G43 sniper. The transports for these, same as the other Fallschirm infantry squads, with the Battlegroup being the only one that's a Recon. 2, 4 and 6 availability. Doesn't make these too desirable, that's for sure. Then we have the first of the Italian units in this division. Now, the 4th Fallschirmjager is a mix of German and Italian paratroopers. So here we have the Para Esploratori. Hopefully I'm going to say some of these right. I'll try my best. 6 Beretta M38s are their weapon of choice. 6 SMGs with the 150 meter range is pretty scary. And they do have a Panzerfaust. If they had smoke plus the 6 SMGs, I think I'd probably find them more desirable. But either way, still an interesting squad. Love the outfits. 3 in Phase A, 6 in B, and 9 in C. Let's move on to the SBW AB43, which is the Recon vehicle in the Recon tab of the 4th Fallschirmjager. The Fallschirmjager, well known for using these SBW ABs. And they come with that 20mm Breda turret, which has AP rounds and HE rounds, the AP rounds being good for killing off light armored targets. And it does have the very high optics there with the radio capability, so really nice support for your Fallschirmjagers in the early game for sure. Also, in terms of transports for the Italians, they can be brought in with the Spa truck, but that is the only other choice other than the Horch. Alright, let's move on to the infantry tab. Guastatori, Para. These guys are pretty much your standard engineer type squad. They have 3 SMGs, 8 car cannon rifles, and then 3 bundle grenades. Which, with 11 men, you know, they're pretty good. You know, they're standard stuff. 25 points, 6 available in A, 12 in B, 18 in C is actually pretty generous on availability for an engineer style squad. So yeah, Raider trait does mean they have very good stealth as well. So that's something to bear in mind. They can sneak around a little bit. And they'll only engage within the 500 meter range, which is actually quite nice for a unit that kind of specializes in close range engagements. Then we have the Para d'Assalto. These guys are 9-man squads with Berettas. It's actually a pretty scary squad. because they have the Beretta with a 150 meter range in sort of like cover engagements. These guys are going to really tear people open big time. Their damage is the 3.6. The accuracy on the Beretta is pretty good, and because they have extra range, it means that as you get closer to the enemy, the accuracy only increases. So having a longer range actually means they benefit from even higher accuracy at close range, which means they do even more damage. And yeah, you get the idea. They do a lot of damage. They have an AT grenade as well. They have Taladen, and that is going to be able to kill things at close range quite nicely. 6 available in A, 12 in B, 24 in C. Come with the Spa trucks. Then we have the Paracadotisti. These guys are more of like a standard infantry squad, having the submachine gun rifle and automatic rifle there. So 3 Berettas actually makes them pretty strong at close range, with the 3 rifles, which isn't really going to add too much damage, and then they have 2 Bretters. Now, and the Bretta is actually an automatic rifle, so it can be fired within the 100-meter range, which is important to note. So technically their close range DPS is going to be pretty high. It's going to be like 2.5. Yeah, which for an 8-man squad is not bad at all. Do have exceptional stealth. They do have a Panzerfaust, so it could be a nice sort of like sneaky squad to kind of dot around and protect your flanks and maybe make some sort of flanking maneuvers of their own. Then there's the Fallschirmjager, is the next unit. This is the first of the leaders in the infantry tab, the German Fallschirm leader, with the 2 MP40s, 2 FG42s, and the Haftaladen grenade. Well, it's not really a grenade, isn't it? So, would you class it as more of like a tank mine, I guess? Like a magnetic mine. Anyway, exceptional stealth because of the radar trait. Does have the radio. 3, 6, and 9 availability on these. No special transports really, unless you want to, refer to the Kengrad as a special transport. It is in my heart. But yeah, interesting that you get 3 cards of these actually. So you could just bring in lots and lots of Fallschirmjägers. But why would you do that when you can bring in Fallschirm Pioneers? Now these are the meaty squads. Fallschirm Pioneers are really, really scary. They have 5, 10, and 15 availability. They get 2 FG42s, 9 G43s, and MG34, which makes their mid-range DPS around the 500-meter range like really quite a lot. Plus, when they get into closer ranges, they also have the HE bundle grenade, the Gebalterladung, which is, yeah, very nice indeed. Very strong squads, the Fallschirm Pioneers, and bring them in at higher veterancy. You don't really lose too much on the availability either, so yeah, 3-star vet those, and you're going to be laughing. Fallschirm Pioneers, a little less impressive. 2 MP40s, 3 G43s, and then the Flammenwerfer with smoke grenades. Standard sort of flamer squad, but for 30 points, maybe a little bit overpriced, and availability is 5, 10, and 15. At 3 vet, I guess they could be pretty good for supporting other infantry at closer range engagements, but on their own, aren't really going to match up to other close range infantry squads that well. Well, other more specialized close range infantry squads at least. Then you've got the Fallschirmjäger, your classic Fallschirmjäger, FG42, G43s, and 2 MG34s. Again, ripping things up at medium range, and yeah, super, super strong. The vet curve on these is actually pretty generous. But 8, 16, and 24 available in A, B, and C. And then if you up-vet them, it goes 6, 12, and 18, which is still pretty decent. So definitely something to bear in mind. Fallschirmjäger is also getting the Raider trait here with the very good stealth. So yeah, nice all round. And then you've got the Parakommando, which are the leader squads for the... Well, I guess I don't know if that's like commando or commander in Italian, but regardless, the leaders for the Italian paras, and they have 4 Berettas, which actually makes them do a lot of damage close range with the Kar 98s, 6 of those, and an MG42 with smoke. These are definitely meaty leader squads, that's for sure. Very good stealth. Yeah, got that radio capability, of course. Availability is 2, 4, and 6, which isn't great, but considering how good the squad is, I guess it's to be expected that you're not going to have that many of these available. Moving on to the tank tab. We've got some more of these, like some Infantry, the Stug M41 with the little Breda machine gun. Again, the only tank in the tank tab, I think, in the entire game that only has a machine gun. Yeah, most of the time you find these sort of machine gun tanks in the support tab, but in this case, no, they're in the tank tab. Like, standing there proud. But yeah, 3 in A, 6 in B, supplement armoured leaders if you need them. Then there's the Stug M42 7534, which we worked out before was actually not too bad, because the the HE shell has 2.2 damage at 12 round per minute rate of fire at 1,750 meter range. So it's basically like an armored assault gun. Really can do a decent chunk of damage. The HE availability of rounds isn't that high though, so you're going to have to keep an eye on that. AP shell, 85 mils of penetration, 40% accuracy, and the heat round is also 85 mils of penetration, but the range is slightly shorter. The benefit of having heat in this case is that it maintains its armor penetration value at range. So whereas an AP shot has fall off, a heat round does not. So that's the benefit of having heat in this case, if you're wondering why, because they basically look the same otherwise. There is Tigers available, 1, 2 and 4 available. These are alright. I mean, they're Tigers. The bad thing about Tigers in Star Division 2 is their rate of fire is pretty low. The 5 round per minute rate of fire on their main gun kind of makes them less desirable than things like the Panther, which have that extra round per minute, which does make a difference, especially when you start upvetting tanks. You can get some much greater rate of fire out of them. But yeah, you know, it's a Tiger. It's good against other medium. Well, it's good against medium tanks and light tanks, but might struggle against other heavy tanks that you might bump into on the Allied side. Panther A, you do get 1 card of these. 2 available in A, 4 available in B. It's your standard Panther, 185mm of penetration, 6 round per minute rate of fire with 130 mils of frontal armor. Yeah, it's okay. And then you got the Panther A Führer there as well. Only one of these available in Phase A with 1 star vet. Alright, let's move on to the support tab. Fallschirmjager are going to be the first choice. 6, 9 and 12 availability throughout the phases. No special transports, just your standard flamer squads. 45mm mortar here. It's a tiddly little thing, look at that. 540 meter range makes these a little lackluster. Availability is also not fantastic with these. 6, 12 and 18. If you could get like the 9, 18 and then 27 on these, like it'd probably be worth taking, but just because they'd be able to provide like nice close range fire support behind your own like infantry lines. But yeah, I don't know, I guess it's still kind of useful. You can get Kubel munition trucks. Kubel munition trucks are interesting because they offer the same total amount of supply in each phase as Opel Blitz munition trucks, but it allows you to kind of split up the supply a little bit more. So if you only need a little bit of supply to maybe like get some infantry back online with their machine guns or something, then bringing in a Kubel is much more, like, it's much better than bringing in like an entire Opel Blitz. So using the Kubel cards first, I would definitely recommend if you're using supply in A and B. LG40s are available. You can get 4 in A and 8 in B. These have 1,500 meter range. The HE shell is 2.2 damage with a 12 round per minute rate of fire. So these are pretty good infantry guns. And their AP shell is not too bad either at killing off lightly armored targets. So a decent infantry support gun there. There is also the Stug M42 7518. This is the assault gun, basically. It's got the 2.2 damage with the 12 round per minute rate fire, specialized with HE shells in this case. The loadout is majority HE. So this is going to be a lot more useful for the role I was talking about with the like Simavente and the tank tab. But yeah, AP shells are not too bad on the accuracy, but the penetration is very low. And then the heat round is sort of like mediocre. But rate of fire is fantastic on these things, and if you were to like up-vet them, you could probably go pretty nuts. Like this is 16 round per minute rate of fire with 2 vet. You add an extra veterancy to that, that's going to be even higher as well. There is 4 cards of MG42s available, with the Fallschirmjager's man in them. 5, 10, and 15 availability. Seen MG42s 100 times over though. 2 Opel Blitz munition truck cards are available. 2, 4, and 6 availability. There's the Stug M43 105mm. This thing suffers from serious lack of rate of fire in comparison to the other ones, but it does significantly more damage on its main gun. And the heat round is pretty scary with the 10 damage. It can definitely one-shot tanks at mid-range, like medium tanks at least, at sort of like the mid-range engagement. Because you want to be probably within 1,000 meters to get the accuracy up when you're actually firing this heat round. There are 3 cards available of the Sturmpanzer IV. 3 cards. You can get 1 in A, 3 in B, and 6 in C. If you could get more in A, these would be so broken. It's just as well you can't. Going into more detail on these, we don't actually see them too often actually. Let me just go over them. They got 7.5 damage, 2,000 meter range, which means they can pretty much 2-shot most support guns at max range. And with enough of them, you could probably kill off tanks as well. 115mm of frontal armor isn't going to stop something like a 17-pounder getting through the front, but it is going to stop most medium tanks. So yeah, it's a pretty scary beast. Fallschirmkommandant is the leader or commander infantry. There is the Panzer L6 770. Very, very interesting commander unit here with the Breda 38. And then there's also the Lynx as well, with a Breda in it. So, yeah. Captured Lynx. Let's move on to the anti-tank tab. Fallschirmpanzerstreck is going to be the first one here. 4, 8, and 12 availability. You've seen Panzerstrecks plenty of times before. No interesting transports really there. Then there's the Stug L6 turning up again. You can get 6 and 12 of these in A and B. Not the best tank destroyer in the world. 47 mils of penetration. 47 mil gun with 65 mils of penetration. 20 round per minute rate of fire though is actually pretty high. It's just kind of, I don't know what they're going to be more useful for. Killing tanks or shooting infantry. Yeah, might be fun to try them out, but I don't expect these to stay in decks for very long. Then you got the 47mm on the ground, which is basically the same gun that the Stug L6 has, but manned with the infantry. AP shells there and HE shells exactly the same stats. 6, 9, and 12 availability of these. They do have the Raider trait, so they have exceptional stealth, which could actually make these kind of useful for transport sniping and kind of like sneaking them maybe around the back line to shoot into the backs of units coming in off the map. But yeah, next up, the Pak 41 Gerlich. It's actually not a bad AT gun at all because it has 120 mils of penetration. The main limitation of the Pak 41 Gerlich is its range. It's only got 1,000 meter range. Also, its damage is 4 rather than 5, which means it technically takes 3 shots to kill a medium tank. But thankfully the rate of fire is decent enough that it won't matter that much. But yeah, 6 and 12 availability. You've got to bring them in at 1 vet, which does help out with the rate of fire a little bit there. Then there's the Pak 40s. You can get 3, 5, and 8 availability of the Pak 40 throughout the phases. There's 2 cards of these to choose from, with the SDK of Z11 and the SDK of Z7 and the SPA 38 are there. And finally, last but not least, the one that you guys have probably been waiting for. You've been staring at this anti-tank now going, click on the elephant. Yeah, there is an elephant available, but only one of them. And it's available in Phase A. So you could bring this in early on, but it will definitely become a target very, very fast for enemy bombers, artillery, and so on. So use it wisely, but definitely a great tool to have. Moving into the anti-air tab, Flak 20mm are available. You can't bring them in with other 20mm aircraft or anti-aircraft vehicles, so bear that in mind. But 6, 9 and 12 availability throughout the phases. Does have exceptional stealth because it technically has the Raider trait, something to consider. Then there's the SBA 38R Breda 20mm on back of a truck, basically. That's got the AP shells. If it bumps into other sort of light armor, it can actually defend itself. But yeah, the HE, of course, going to be the main thing it uses. Either killing infantry or shooting planes in the sky. You get 4 of these in A and 8 in B. Then there is this very interesting NAG 4500 37mm. Now this is basically just an armoured truck with a 37mm gun on the back of it. But the great thing about it being armoured is it's kind of like immune to light arms fire from the front, which could make this actually kind of a nice infantry support weapon. But I think for the most part, they're just going to remain as anti-air role because they're going to still be vulnerable to artillery fire. But yeah, the 37's your standard 37 that you get with the Germans. 2 available in Phase A, 4 available in Phase B. And then there is 2 cards of the Flak 88s. We've seen Flak 88s many a time before. Can be brought in with the multi-ammunition trucks if you wanted to maybe save on the supply in the support tab. Like if you didn't want to use points, for example, in the support tab to bring in an Opal Blitz, you could bring it in with something else. And in this case, you could bring it in with the Flak 41. Definitely something to consider. And then otherwise, it's just the STK of Z11 and the STK of Z7, which does come with the machine gun and is a 5-point. And stays on the map once you unload, which is kind of useful in some cases where you might want to maybe pick up the 88 again and move it after it's fired at stuff, or maybe if you want to use it to put around other units like artillery and so on. And moving into the artillery tab anyway, the artillery tab here is a little bit lackluster. There's not really much choice, but it's got what it needs. It really does. You've got the Beobachter there, your standard 2-man artillery observers with the 2 MP40s and smoke grenades. There's the Battleführer, which is your standard artillery leader. And then you have radio mortars. Now radio mortars are just so useful, and you get 5, 10 and 15 availability of these on a card. So you can get 4 cards of these if you wanted to. You could fill the entire artillery tab with them. There's 6 cards available of the 120mm mortars, so 2, 4 and 6 availability. And then you can also get the 172mm howitzer. So late game, you do have a big gun to kind of like match up to your opponents, that's for sure. So yeah, I would say it's got what it needs, considering it's limited choices here. I mean, like in terms of like the actual tab itself, see you've only got 4 cards that you can actually fit in. Right, air tab, HE111. And this is not actually that bad. It's a Recon HE111 with no like offensive armament, no bombs or anything. The reason I say it's not bad is because it's 35 points for a bomber which goes 415 km/h speed with very good resilience. I say it's a bomber, I mean it's obviously not a bomber, it's just Recon. But yeah, the very good resilience is what makes this actually kind of an interesting choice, potentially. Because it can kind of stay in the air. It would be better if it had radio, because then you could couple it up with your radio mortars to get corrected shot in. But yeah, I don't think this is a terrible idea to bring in at all. It's probably one of the better air recon options that I've seen in a while. There is the BF 110 G4B R3. This has 2 30mm and 2 20mm in the nose. It's a head-on this thing's gonna absolutely eat planes for breakfast. Don't head on these if you see them come up against you. Also, I feel like this will have reasonable damage against units on the ground. I've yet to test really how much damage this does, but I can imagine that it will kill off support guns and AT weapons relatively easily. And so 70 points a pop with 4, 6, and 8 availability across the phases. Again, another choice that's it's pretty close choice to being actually something you want to take. BF 110 with same armament but with rockets. 100 points. 1 in phase A, 2 in B, and 3 in C. Now this has the same armament as the BF 109 rocket plane with these 210mm rockets. In this case though, you get 4 rockets. And these rockets are already very powerful. Now, unfortunately for the BF 109, because it only has 2, it often leaves AT guns on like 1 health, or doesn't really do too much damage because it misses, because it comes under a bit of stress. But since you have 4 of them, you're almost certain to destroy support weapons in one run. And this thing has like a decent amount of damage against armor. So if something's already been damaged and needs finishing off, these BF 110s could certainly do the job. So that's certainly what you could use them for. Moving on, there is the Veltro, the C205V. This is an Italian fighter. 620 km/h speed is nothing to scoff at. 20mm in the wings, 2 of those, and 2 12.7mm machine guns. This thing is actually going to be pretty damn decent. Its bad resilience might cause it to get shot down quite easily, but for 100 points, this is a pretty nice fighter. 2, 4, and 8 availability across the board. Then we have the Focke-Wulf 190G3R5. These are the Focke-Wulfs that were designed more specifically for fighter bomber roles. They do have the 250 kilogram bomb and 4 50-kilogram bombs with 2 20mm. These are 535 km/h speed with the bad resilience. I think these have a pretty nice payload. 2, 4, and 8 availability for these. 110 points. Actually kind of makes these not bad at all. There's a Focke-Wulf 190G3 with the 3 250-kilogram bombs. We've definitely seen these before, but the availability on these is a lot lower. So 1, 2, and 4 availability across the phases, and also they're slightly slower. So I think the G3R5 variant is actually pretty nice, but the Focke-Wulf 190G3, whilst it does have a good payload, is probably not going to be as good of a choice. They do have some Alcyons. We've seen these already. They're obviously new to this DLC, but we've already covered the 26th Panzer, which had the Alcyons. This one, the first card, has an 800-kilogram bomb plus the 4 100-kilogram bombs on the wings. Availability is 1, 2, and 4. And then the second card is the variant that has all 100 HE bombs, 100-kilogram HE bombs, 12 in the bomb bay, 6 on the wings, 2, 4, and 7 availability. And there's only 1 card of each here. Yeah, nice bomber. Does have the very good resilience. So, yeah, not bad at all. The only thing that it lacks, really, is guns. So you're going to want to make sure these are escorted. Otherwise, they're just going to get absolutely destroyed by enemy fighters. And there you have it. That's everything. Nothing to really point out in the defense tab, so I think it's time to build a deck. Start in the Recon. So I definitely want to try out these AS-42s. I think I'm actually going to bring them in phase B, because we're going to have the AB-43s in phase A. And that means I get more availability of them. As for my infantry options, there isn't really too much to go on here. I'm thinking of bringing in some of these in phase B, the Para Esploratori, And then we'll get the Fallschirmjager with like Kubel MGs in phase A. So that way we get some extra Kubel MGs to dot around. And these do have very high optics. So if you hide them in light cover, they can be pretty useful for providing line of sight onto enemy units. The Fallschirmjager in this case could be useful, but I think I just want the availability on the infantry there. And at closer ranges, if these get spotted, I think they're going to be more useful than something like a Fallschirmjager, which I guess with the 1000 meter range could be nice, but availability on these is kind of low for this division. Let's move on to the infantry tab. So Guastatori are definitely one that I'm going to take. I'm not sure what phase I'm going to bring them in yet. I think it's actually most likely to be phase A, because I'm probably going to bring in phase B Fallschirm Pioneers and phase C Fallschirm Pioneers. Then, do I want any Para d'Assalto? I might bring in some of those early on, but for the most part we're going to be using Fallschirmjäger. Then we do phase A Fallschirmjäger, phase B Fallschirmjäger, phase C Fallschirmjäger. I'm going to bring in the Para Commando in phase C, and then we'll do Fallschirmführer phase A. And I think we'll do one more Italian unit maybe in phase A as well. Let's get the Paracadutisti in phase A. I think I'm going to upvet them. Yeah, we're going to do that. Alright. Tank tab. Definitely want the Tigers and Panthers. So we'll go for phase C Tigers, phase B Panthers, and I'm actually going to go for these in phase A for now. Yeah, let's do that. Alright. This tab is actually going to be a really hard one, because there is a way to really like maximize this deck, and that is just to kind of spam out Sturmpanzers, to have Sturmpanzers all the time. But of course I kind of want to mess around with some of the new units, like these Semiventes, like the Stugs. So yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm going to bring in these for sure. The fact I can bring them in at 2 vets so easily makes them kind of desirable. I like that. I'm going to bring in some MGs. For my commander, I am going to use the Lynx, because the L6 has weak top armor. Otherwise I would bring that in. And then we've just got to decide what else we want to add here. I've got to leave space for supply. So I might come back to that tab and see what we've got left. Definitely going to bring in the elephant. These we're going to bring in for the absolute mean value at 2 vet. I do want Panzerschrecks, but I don't know if I can afford to bring them in. We'll bring in some, and then we'll do phase B. I think phase B, Pack 40s for now. Let's go anti-air. I'm going to bring in the nags because they're new. It's a shame that the availability on these kinds of sucks, but oh well. We'll bring in some Flak 41s in phase C. I might come back to that and add another card, but we're kind of running low on activation points already. In this tab, we're going to go for radio mortars and artillery. Bring that in with the multi-munition trucks. And then air tab. Like, these are good, but I don't know if I can justify bringing them in. I'm going to bring in these in phase A. We're going to bring these in phase B. And then we got 2 more 1 point slots that we might as well use up. I definitely need some sort of fighter. So we'll bring in the Veltros in Phase B. And I might bring in some of these BF-110s in Phase A. We'll leave the heavy bombers out of it. Alright. So, we're definitely doing Kubel munition truck. Now I need to find more points. So where are we going to take the points from? The thing is, because I've added a lot of these Stug M42s and like the Stug L6 there, for example, we're kind of leaving it at a point where, like, usually I wouldn't, like, if you were to make a serious deck out of this that was competitive, none of these would exist in the deck and you'd replace them with other units that are more useful. But I think they're going to be fun to mess around with, so that's what I'm going to go with. Unfortunately, there's no real way for me to free up a slot in the infantry tab like I would normally, where I would get rid of one of these leaders and pop it into the artillery tab. But I guess I could potentially cut down on one of these units. Maybe not bringing Fallschirmjagers in Phase A or something. That could be a choice. Maybe cutting down on the amount of Recon is another choice. It's really difficult because obviously without any supply, there's no way I'm going to be able to bring these in. Unless I just don't bring them in. I mean, that's another choice, right? I just don't bring in the heavy guns. Because to a certain extent, bringing in just 4 of these is, whilst they're going to be good, they're going to get counter batteried really fast because you're not going to be able to overwhelm your opponent. So if I do it just so I have 81mm mortars, that actually allows me to bring in like a second card of Kubels for the 81mm. And then, I mean, I could also think about bringing in Sturmpanzers though. And maybe just rely on like the mortars early and then bring in like support guns for the late game. Could be a good choice. Let's bring in the Sturmpanzers late. Having 6 of those is going to be ridiculous. You could have so much more of those as well. This is a really interesting division. I really like it a lot. But yeah, this is 4th Fallschirmjager. Did I just... Yeah, I did. I just completely butchered typing that out. It's a really interesting deck because it makes you think about what you actually want to bring. And there's a lot of interesting stuff in here where you've got all of the Italian units sort of mixed into the German Fallschirmjager units that you've seen before. And of course the Fallschirmjager units are really strong. So you're going to be probably prioritizing them for the most part. But if you want to mess around a bit like I do, then bringing in these sort of interesting new vehicles, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to have, yeah, a good time playing this deck. Alright, well, yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this look at the 4th Fallschirmjager. Please remember that I am going to be streaming the Tribute to Italy DLC this Thursday at 8 PM GMT. So do make sure to come along to my Twitch channel, check that out. We're playing some games live with all of you guys, so yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Also, make sure to subscribe if you do want to see more Steel Division 2 content, of course. But that is it from me. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.